everyone. Welcome to HAA's Expert Exchange, where we address real questions with expert answers. My name is Morgan Taylor. I'm the editor for Abode magazine here at HAA, and I'm going to be your host today, filling in for Gina Irwin of GWR Management. Today is Tuesday, August 4th, and today's topic is current on-site crime. I'm going to review our housekeeping items really quickly for our viewers today. Please ask any questions that you may have in the Zoom chat box or in the comments via Facebook Live if that's where you're joining us today. Once we get through the questions we've curated, we'll get to your questions. But this is a micro webinar, so we're going to try to keep this session to our 30-minute time window. A disclaimer, we are not public health experts nor attorneys. This webinar is provided for general information purposes only and does not constitute legal or professional advice. No member should act on the basis of any material contained in the webinar without obtaining proper legal or other professional advice specific to their situation. Please consult with your management company or property owner to address specific issues and to form your own company guidelines. Now, we are here today with the experts and HPD officers, Commander Yasar Bashir, Senior Police Officer Garry Ping Ho, and Sergeant Roger Nguyen. Hi, guys. I'm going to read Commander Bashir's bio really quickly. He is with the Houston Police Department. He's a commander, and his division is Major Assaults and Family Violence. He has 19 years of service. And he, while commander at Midwest Division, began a police and business owner meetings to reduce crime. He initiated monthly crime initiatives for high crime apartment communities, and it was very successful in reducing crime. He began an apartment managers and owners meeting with police to discuss crime strategies for apartment communities. And he's currently working on an initiative to reduce family violence incidents in 4 apartment communities in the city. Thank you, Commander Bashir, for being here with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having us. I just want to say, Morgan, thank you so much for reaching out, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to meet with the apartment managers and discuss some of the issues that they're dealing with. First, I just want to introduce Sergeant Roger Nguyen and Ping Ho. In my opinion, they really are the subject matter expert. I have worked very closely with them in dealing with many of the issues that apartment managers experience. And honestly, we have been very successful in some aspects. And that's something I'm going to talk about briefly. But let me first go over, as a commander, when I was a patrol commander, my district had the most concentration of apartment complexes. And historically, some apartment complexes that are lower income, where the management are not very actively involved in the management of the properties seem to start running down, and we have crime, and that causes a lot of resources from us to address those crimes. So what I did was, when I was in Midwest, as you briefly mentioned, I quickly realized that not majority, but significant amount of my crime was coming out of apartment complexes. And those crimes were, for example, burglaries of motor vehicles, ag assaults, burglary of habitation. Significant number of my burglaries in the district were occurring in apartment complexes. So what did I do? One thing I did was, okay, we need to meet up with department managers and work with them to find out what's going on and start cleaning those apartments out. And so we started I believe it was every other month, where we had a meeting with department managers, where we discussed different issues that we were experiencing, what we needed them to do, and what we're going to do to address the crimes on the property. And this partnership was very successful. And then the second thing I did was, we also did what's called the business owners meetings. And that was really successful also, because many times the apartment managers feel like they don't have the contacts they need with the police. But with these meetings, we were able to resolve many of the issues that were occurring at the apartment complex. For example, so what I did was, every quarterly in my district, we did our research and found out which apartment complexes had a lot of crime, and we would number them 1 through 10, okay? And then we would come up with a plan to how to reduce violent crime in these top 10 properties. One of the things included was meeting with department managers, let them know what kind of crime is occurring, And we started doing some in-house rules, like for example, trespassings. Our officers would start driving around and run the vehicles to see if they're stolen or not. People loitering, and things like that. It started, improving the overall, the well-being of the property. I remember in one incident, I don't take a bit long, I'm almost done. I remember one of our problematic properties, I went there on National Night Out, and one of the citizens made a very nice comment that she feels safe walking at nighttime. And that was really a truly a good success story. But anyway, this long spiel was to let the department managers know that the police, we are here for you, and we are going to work with you. But what we need from you is just, just partner up with us, and you'll be surprised the kind of success we can have by partnering together.
Right. Yeah. Well, today today we're here to talk about the sort of heightened crime that has occurred amid COVID-19 with residents staying at home all the time and all that. So there's no doubt been a spike in crime on site. Apartment managers are struggling to keep their properties safe from all sorts of crime. So what have you seen on site at apartment communities recently? What sort of crimes have spiked?
Well, here's what I have seen. As you've been watching the news, one of the things that we anticipated was domestic violence. Okay, but overall, domestic violence went up slightly. But what we do know is the severity of the incidents went significantly high, where actually the victim was had more sustained more injury as compared to prior to COVID. The second thing is, which I have seen in apartment complexes, is the burglary of habitations. That's just criminals coming in and they're breaking into breaking into the apartments. And then, the BMVs, that continues to be a problem. They may go away or they may come back, and nobody's immune to that, with the burglaries of motor vehicles. And we have seen at very nice complexes and also in a lower income apartment complexes as well. And honestly, BMVs are, in my opinions, are preventable if the citizens don't leave anything in the vehicle, so that way they don't become an easy target. But nonetheless, these criminals, that's a very easy target to break into vehicles. They continue to do that. And honestly, is the residents, when their vehicles get broken into, even though maybe just one vehicle in a month, but to that residents, they feel violated and they want to move out. And that's not good for business either. So, Roger, have you seen anything in the district?
No, sir. The main stuff, like you said, is the burglary of the motor vehicle, but it's very preventable. Actually, we can go to each site. Each apartment complex manager can go to their DRT, which is called the Different Response Team, and they can educate the apartment complex. We can put burglary motor vehicle pamphlet. We can do a check on the vehicle if they pass or fail, and other stuff. And we'll talk more about Blue Star and stuff as we go, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Well, my next question was about burglary, car burglary and theft. That seems, like you mentioned, Commander Bashir, happens on no matter what type of property it is. It can be a Class A, it can be a B, a C property. I personally feel like, if you're not a Houston resident unless you've gotten your car broken into, but and you touched on this a little bit, but what can a property manager do to help alleviate this issue on site?
Number one is they can leave signs which say don't leave items in your vehicle, like in parking lots. The main stuff is people see, it's all about curiosity. And what we can do is you can go whatever division you're at, the apartment manager, they can get with the officer, the Different Response Team, they can go out and do BMV cards. What we do is check each vehicle and grade it a pass or fail. And we put the reason why they fell. For example, they left the door unlocked, they left a backpack, or so on. And it's for free. And that's one of it's preventable, 100% preventable, because if they see a backpack, it could be a gym bag. They don't know what's in it. They're going to break it to find out. So that's what we run into. It's citywide. So it's statewide, actually, everywhere.
And the other problem with the burglary of motor vehicle is that the punishment is very light. because it's considered a misdemeanor. So and once we do catch the culprit, and then he gets very light punishment, and then the risk and reward is not the same.
Right.
So that causes another problem for us is when we catch these people, they're back on the street again. And that causes more frustration for the business owners as well as for us. When we try to get them off the street, but they're back out again.
So if a resident is a victim of a car burglary or theft, what should they or the apartment manager do? Do they call the non-emergency line, or?
The first thing I want to tell everybody to do is don't have the mindset, well, the police is not going to catch the guy, okay? Because we had many cases where we do catch the person and we do find property, but we don't know who the complainant is. So that's the first thing is, yes, I highly encourage you to report that crime, because first we can track it. And then in the future, let's say we do recover property, then we can link those cases together. Yes, definitely call the police, the 311 non-emergency number, or the, Roger, what's the other number?
713-844-3131.
Yes, that's the other number.
884, yes. And also you can do it online too. If there's no suspect or anything, you can actually go to the HPD website and do, because sometimes our call for service is priority, and a burglary vehicle is a priority 4, which it takes longer for police to come. So if you can also do online, but the main stuff is like Bashir, make sure you have serial number and so on of items that's taken. So once we link it or we catch the suspect, then we can link it to what case. And we made a lot of arrests by linking cases together.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. That's very helpful. Now, the second most common issue apartment managers are faced with on site in terms of crime is domestic violence. And this is a tricky subject, I would imagine. I feel like, an apartment manager, if they know of a resident who's a victim of violence and they see it happening, they may want to help, but they may be doing maybe afraid that they may do more harm than good. So what advice do you have for apartment managers who may see domestic violence happening on site?
Well, this question is right up my alley, because right now I'm over our Major Assaults and Family Violence Division. Let me just give you a brief overview of what is exactly that we do and what the process is, and then the apartment manager will have a better understanding. We see the initiative throughout the city about family violence. We have 4 different units. We're in units in different locations. One is at the West Side Patrol Command. We have a central at Travis Travis. We have a southeast, and then we have one at north. So what happens is whenever a victim makes a police report, it automatically comes to my division, and every case is read, and it gets assigned to an investigator, and also a victim advocate will call the citizens back to provide different resources that are available to them, such as if they need a shelter or if they need any other assistance. This happens every case where there's a victim. So the question is, what can department managers do? If you know that there's a person being victimized by a loved one, you can obviously call 311. You can call the police, or even call. If you have our phone numbers, you can call that number and then let us know. But the reason why this is important is because certain percentage of our homicides are related to family violence. And this is approximately, I'm just roughly going with about 15-20%, okay? And what type of crime that's serious, that we take it very serious, there's domestic violence, is strangulations, because that's a telltale sign that you're very close to death. And those kind of cases, they get high priority and they get assigned out. Give you an example of as far as apartment. So right now I have an initiative going on, and that is what we did was we look at, okay, what properties are we experiencing large number of family violence and domestic violence incidents. So we identified those 4 apartment complexes throughout the city, and what we do is we look at every single case that came out of there. We do our thorough analysis of how long this has been going on. We provide them resources. We also go and talk to department managers, let them be aware that they have identified that this is happening. And this gives an opportunity for the department managers also to be aware of the problem. And they have flyers that they can put all over their apartment complexes, let the victims know that they can get help. And these flyers are in Spanish and in English. And this is briefly what we're doing, but there's a lot more I can talk about.
Where,
Go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, where can they find these flyers?
I can email them to you after I can email them to you. If you want, you can pass them on to your members.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So anyone who's watching who wants those flyers, just email me at mtaylor@haaonline.org or COMM@haaonline.org, or comment on Facebook Live in the chat, whatever's easier for y'all. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in terms of detecting family violence?
No, just don't take it lightly. One more thing I want to mention is the most dangerous time that we have noticed is that if there's a boyfriend, girlfriend, and they're breaking up, what we see is that's the most dangerous time for domestic violence, or even or very serious, assault could take place, or even up to homicide. So that's something I would be aware of. If you're aware that there's two people have a lot of tension and they're breaking up, that's where you should start monitoring and be very vigilant. Those can be very dangerous times.
Okay, thank you. Human trafficking is another reported issue in our area. How can property managers recognize human trafficking, and what can they do?
Roger, you're gonna have to answer this one, Ping.
Well, most complex, your maintenance guys, the extra eyes in a year, they have the eyes in a year. So you can tell your maintenance guy if they notice any unusual traffic going in and out different unit, there might be something going on. They might, because I work with Vice a couple of times. Sometimes they have brothel inside the apartment complex, so you need to pay attention to that. Also, you can those people that run human trafficking brothels inside apartment complex, they have to advertise somewhere online. So as an apartment manager, you can probably check those websites to see if your address is being used advertising those websites, and that can give you a hint somebody's running those operations in your apartment complex.
And if you think you do, let us know. Let the division, each division has, like I said, their DRT supervisor. Let them know, and they'll do the investigation. They'll send undercover Vice to that location and to see if it's what you say it is. There's plenty of apartment complex, like Commander Bashir said, it used to be in his district, 18 district, and we made a lot of arrests in apartment complex because they were doing human trafficking out of there. Because we work hand in hand with the Vice Division and Human Trafficking Division.
Hey, Morgan, I know you have other questions, but because I think we have only about 10 minutes left. So what I want to do is I want Roger to explain and talk about our trespassing affidavit policy, and when we can or cannot arrest somebody on the property. I think this is very important for the apartment managers to know, because we had some issues in the past and that caused some conflict. So Roger, if you don't mind, just talk about the trespassing.
Okay, so we'll talk about two things, the trespassing, and the last thing is about how to get Blue Star certified. I think that's the two last topic. Trespassing, Gary, go ahead.
Well, let's say if someone trespassing your property 2 o'clock in the morning, in order to make an arrest, we need to have a complainant, a victim, right? So what trespass affidavit does is the property manager gives police the authority to make arrest, even without the manager or owner present. So you fill out a trespass affidavit, we put that file in the police station, and you post signs says, hey, this location has trespass affidavit. Say 2 o'clock in the morning, you have a homeless trespass into your parking lot, an officer sees him and he cannot show any proof that he lives there. We can arrest him based on the trespass affidavit at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. without the owner or manager present.
So the main stuff officer picking all the senior officers talking about is, one, you got to get a trespass activated. Two, you got to get an officer, a DRT officer, to go out there and make sure that all the signs are up and it's all legal and so on before we can actually execute the affidavit, the trespassing affidavit. It's very easy to do. We do it for free. We notarize it right there for you and so on.
And you also have to post no trespassing sign at all the entrance.
And that's when we come in. We'll educate the apartment complex manager of what to do and everything to do from nut to bolt on that.
Awesome. Okay. Now, before we get to some of the viewers' questions, let's talk about the HAA and HPD joint Blue Star program.
Well, Blue Star program is a joint effort between the manager, owner, resident, and the law enforcement. Okay, our goal is to reduce the potential for crime and to raise awareness. Okay, so basically, first thing the apartment has to do is send the manager and staff to 8-hour training, and so they can get a certificate. Once they get a certificate, officer will go out to the property, walk through the property, check all the safety element like gates, fence, laundry room, playground, lights, shrubbery, and make sure you have trespass affidavit. And after you pass the inspection, it's called septic inspection, crime prevention through environmental design. Once you pass the inspection, we will do a safety awareness meeting with your resident to educate the resident about safety. Okay, so you educate the apartment manager, staff, and the resident, and then you become Blue Star certified.
And to get Blue Star certified, just your representative division, your DRT supervisor, they have an officer, like I have senior police officer here to go out to each apartment complex in 18 district to educate them and certify them if they want to.
It's all free.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. Now, our viewers, please go ahead and ask any questions that you might have in the chat box or on via Facebook Live. One question real quick, I'm probably going to butcher your name, so I apologize. Mochi wants to know if there's a department within HPD that apartment communities can contact in order to get a courtesy officer.
I think traditionally it has been done through word of mouth instead of having one entity where, you know, citizens can make a request to have an officer live on the property. I mean, I'm not aware of any unit within a department that does that. Go ahead, Roger.
The commander is right. You can make a flyer, but there's no one entity that run HPD extra job program. It's all word of mouth, or you just ask around. The best thing to do is ask around your division that you work for, so you get the officer that works within that area and they know the area in the department. But there's no specific where you got to go do it.
Okay. Okay. Now we did talk about trespassing, but we didn't really touch on vandalism, loitering, and public intox, which are also kind of,
yes,
you know, heightened on site right now. And I think, you know, a point that I would like to make for our apartment managers out there is that I know a lot of times apartment managers are kind of tasked with wearing many hats, and one of those hats sometimes is police officer.
Mm-hmm.
But in a time of heightened anxiety and stress and just overall tension, I think it's really important for our apartment managers to rely on our HPD officers. That's what they are there for. So a lot of these questions are, you know, what can I do about crime on site? And I think what I'm hearing is, you know, call your local police officer, call 311 if it's a non-emergency, call 911 if it is an emergency. I don't know if there's anything else you guys wanted to add on to that.
Yes, there is something I do want to touch on is if there's a crime problem in an apartment complex, I don't want to think that's a police problem. It actually is a team effort that has been made to resolve that problem. So, for example, if you have, you know, residents that lives in the property and they're loitering, and I mean, as a department manager, you do have a lot of authority. You can put that, in your under restrictions. You can take some kind of action against that. Public intoxications. Honestly, within the city, they have pretty much decriminalized public intoxication. If they're intoxicated, we'll take them to sobriety center where they sober up and they come right back out because a lot of resources were being utilized just for somebody who was impaired. But far as loitering, this is where I think the department managers, they do have a lot of leeway because many a time it's the residents who are bringing their buddies, their friends, they're just hanging out, and and they're leaving trash all over the departments or your complex, and it just has a deteriorating look. And when you have that kind of look, then brings in other criminals and say, hey, if they don't care, then I can come in because nobody's gonna say anything and nobody's gonna catch me, commit whatever crime. And another thing is department managers, I have seen this, is that if you feel that there's a department that's doing like illegal activity, like narcotics, let us know because sometimes you don't want to get involved, but there's something happening illegal in that specific unit. Let us know, and then we will, address that problem. But at the same time, sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I was just gonna really quick before we have 4 minutes left, and Billy, he wants to know if he can have an officer out there to his property for no trespassing signs. He has a lot of traffic, and he believes it's drug and prostitution.
Yes.
Billy,
Where does Billy live at? What area? Get with that division, and they'll send someone out there. I don't know where he lives, so I can't. It depends what district he lives in.
he lives
What
in
area?
77009 is his zip code.
That's downtown. Then you get with whoever that in charge of that division. They'll gladly send a officer out there to do the trespassing activate and do a walkthrough with them.
What we'll do is, Morgan, 7009, I'll send you an email, what division is going to be over that.
Okay, awesome.
So
Thank you.
we'll take care of that.
All right, well, does anyone have any other questions that they'd like to quickly ask before we sign off today? Oh, and Karen Mitchell, our education department, wants everyone to know that you can get a continuing education credit for taking the Blue Star class. So just keep that in mind, all of our credential holders. All right, well, if you guys don't have anything else to add, I think we are finished today.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great evening or a great day, and we'll see you next week for when we talk about CapEx. All right, y'all have a great one. Bye.